Hello everyone and welcome back to the X-Ring. So I've been owing you guys this review for quite a while, and it is the Bergara B-14r, the rimfire trainer. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at this chassis today, look at the rifle setup, and I've got it topped off with the Burris XTR III. This is the 3.3 to 18 with a 50mm objective. Very compact, has a whopping 120 minutes of angle of adjustment, and I am running the Burris signature rings. This is chambered in 22 long rifles, so you guys know that we've been competing quite a bit in the PRS Rimfire series as well as NRL 22X when we get a chance to shoot those matches. And I've been normally shooting a Voodoo, but I won this rifle and I wanted to put it together and give you my evaluation of the rifle itself. My intention is to actually shoot it this weekend in a PRS match. So we're going to compare it to like a Voodoo. And you know, a Voodoo, with the one we're comparing it to today, has a matrix chassis. It's about $5,500, whereas this one, the way it sits, you're looking at about $3,500. So you're still talking about a lot of money, but we're looking for something in that mid-range without stepping all the way up into a Voodoo to where you can shoot something else in train just like you do with your centerfires. Now that being said, the MSRP of the Bergara B-14r, and I have been seeing them around in the gun stores, you can get them for around $1,100. Now if you're trying to make production division, you're going to have to go with a very inexpensive scope because this one is the carbon barrel. And the carbon barrel, the MSRP is about $1,260 or so. So you've got very little money for that $1,500 price point to be able to make production division. I do plan on shooting this in open division, and I'll go ahead and tell you some things I like and I dislike about it. Stay tuned. All right, so starting at the back, you've got a nice recoil pad here, not that it's necessary for 22, but you also have some spacers here for length of pull. Now, it comes with 3 spacers. I've taken one out, but what I didn't like about it were the little wood screws that are in here. You can use just a standard Phillips head, goes in the back of these holes, you unscrew it, and you can take these spacer plates out. The screws are very, very chintzy. That's my first gig on it, but that's a small one, no big deal. I do like the fact that they put the flush cups on both sides, so whether you're left-handed or right-handed, you can still attach a swivel to this for your sling. Now, they do make this in a left-handed model, available in 2021, and what's nice about it is they do have this adjustable cheek riser. One of my complaints about the cheek riser is that it really doesn't let me go as high as I would like it to. While it does have a lot of adjustment, even running the lower rings and the 20-minute of angle base, I still have a little bit of issue getting this to where I need it, to where it's just barely teetering. But once again, another small issue there, no big deal. Moving forwards to the action. Action is as smooth as butter, okay? I do like it. It is a 90-degree throw, so if you're looking for a 60, this isn't it. You do have your release mechanism here for your bolt. Let's go ahead and take that out. And you're gonna see it does have a 2-lug design, similar to the Voodoo, but it is a different mechanism here. You'll notice that this turns, but it's a very, very smooth action. I have no complaints. It is nothing like an RPR or anything like that. It's very smooth, and I think you could work this very quickly. Safety is mounted here on the right side like you're used to seeing it. I have put an EGW 20-minute of angle base on here. On top of that, I put the Burris signature rings. Now, guys, the Burris signature rings, while they are a little bit of a pain to get set up initially, the beauty of them is you can adjust it from anywhere from 0 minutes of angle all the way up to like 40 minutes of angle just within the ring sets itself. So what I've done is with the 20-minute of angle base, I've added another 25 minutes of angle within the shim inserts. So I have 45 minutes of angle. You couple that with the 120 minutes of angle in this Burris XTR III, the 3.3 to 18. And guys, you know, you might say, well, is 18 enough? 18 is plenty enough. I've never found myself shooting above 18 ever in a match. Matter of fact, the most I think I've ever shot in a match has been like 15 power. But when you're trying to shoot for small groups at, let's say, 50 yards, the extra magnification does help. This has a really generous eye relief, weighs in less than 2 pounds, and you have your, this one's got the SCR2 mil reticle, which I love that reticle for precision rimfire or just all type of shooting. It's very thin in the center. It is a first focal plane. And this scope is actually going to run you somewhere around street price, around $1,600 to $1,700. MSRP is around $2,000. This does have the carbon wrapped barrel. And yes, that is a Thunder Beast suppressor on here. So it does come threaded in half 28, and I just wanted to do this as a comparison. We're going to compare this to a 20-inch Voodoo V22, and it doesn't have a suppressor. You guys know I feel about suppressors on a PRS match, but I'm going to go ahead and run it anyway. Why not? You know, I've already got my points that I need for the season, so this is going to be kind of a fun match. I've got just a standard Harris bipod on here. This will probably change by this weekend. I actually have a chassis I'm waiting on to drop this into, and another beauty of the Bergara is it's based off the Remington 700 action. So if you find a chassis that fits the 700 short action, it drops right in here. Same as the triggers. As long as it's for a Remington 700, you should be good to go. So what I need to do is get this zeroed. I've just mounted this scope. I've also put the Burris throw lever on here as an option. The knurling and the texturing on the scope is just unbelievable. It does come with capped windage turret, but it also has an external where I can replace that, and it comes in the box with it. The other thing that's really nice about this, especially for rimfire, is, guys, parallax all the way down to 25 yards. So that does make it really nice. So let's go ahead and get to shooting this on paper. Let's see how it does. I don't know what I'm going to expect out of the groups. We're all going to shoot the same lot Center X today, and it's very, very windy today. We've got about 10-mile-an-hour winds right now, and they're kind of blowing this way. So we'll see what happens with the groups. Enough talking. Let's get it done. All right, guys, so we're pretty close, but on these XTR 3s as well as the 2s, I want you to look how easy it is to set the zero stop. So on this, you actually have 2 screws. One is located here. You can see the hash marks on the top. All we do is loosen these. About a half a turn or so is good enough, and that will free up the turret. Now, if I want to have a dead zero here at 50 yards, that would be here. If I want a little more zero, I just hold it up like this. So however much you raise this or lower it is how close you are to the zero stop. I like to be able to do a hard stop at zero. So what I'm doing is I'm pressing down as hard as I can, so I know my 50 is my dead zero. There's really no reason for me to have any type of negative or anything like that in order to be able to adjust it. What I'm going to do then is just a light snug down on these. I would recommend using somewhere either 4-inch pounds or 8-inch pounds would be fine. But like I said, I might make one more fine adjustment. But that's it. My zero stop set. So now when I want to go back to the 50-yard zero, boom, there it is. Perfectly lined up. Same thing's going to work on your windage, but we're not going to have a zero stop on this. Most of them don't have zero stops on their windage. It's not really necessary, but once again, just the 2 screws here. It's easy to reach. You're not having to go around like you do on a lot of other scopes. And what we're going to do is just rotate this to 0. And that's it. Tighten her up, and she should be zeroed at 50 yards. All right, so one of the things we're going to do today is we're going to contrast and compare the Bergara B-14 with this setup that we talked about to this Voodoo V22 in an MPA matrix chassis. Big shout out to Is Your 6 Covered. He has a lot of rimfire content, and he loaned me this to be able to do the evaluation. He's actually going to help me on this video because we're going to compare groups at 50 yards and see what we can do out at distance. He's also running the Vortex Razor HD. This is the Gen 2 with the EBR-7C reticle. Really nice setup. It does have the MTU contour barrel, and it's a 20-inch. This Bergara has the carbon. Remember, you can get it in steel. And this carbon right here, you're looking at less than 8 pounds. The overall rifle right now feels very light compared to this one. I couldn't even guess. I think this one's going to be closer to 20 pounds, whereas this is probably going to be at around 14 pounds. You do want the weight to add extra stability. And so with everything we've got, let's go ahead and put these on paper. I'll put a GoPro down range at 50 yards, and we'll do 10-shot groups comparing them side by side. So we've got the GoPro set up at 50 yards. The only way to do this fairly is to do it simultaneously. We are shooting the same lot ammunition of Center X, and the barrels have had tons of rounds through there. I've just shot about 30 rounds through this. That's enough to get the wax in there. And so that's all it's got on it. Okay, so we're going to shoot for groups. We're not going to adjust our point of aim. Rick is going to take the top left bench rest center target, and I'll take the one to the right of him. Okay, we'll do a 10-shot group using this same lot of ammo out of this box, and we will get it going. The other thing I like about the Bergara is it does use the full-size mags. Now, they're not as long as Voodoo magazines, but they do hold 10 rounds. There is a way to modify a 15 rounder or a 12 rounder from Voodoo. I'm not telling you to do this, but I think it's removing like 1 millimeter off the top and then making a different U-groove on the backside. I haven't done that yet, and I'll report, because I definitely like to get some 12 or 15 rounders for some of those stages that require a magazine change. So let's go ahead and get on it. 10 rounds each at the same time, so we have the same wind conditions. We're not going to adjust for the wind. We're just going to hold the center and see how it does. Remember, he is shooting unsuppressed 20-inch. I'm shooting suppressed 18-inch. There's 10 rounds if you need it. Same lot. Let's just go with it, because this thing's cooled off now too, so. You're gonna do top left. Hold on, let me get all set up here before we go. All right, so we're going hot, guys. We're not going to change our point of aim. He is target S sighter. I'm target 1. We're going dead center. His bullseye, my bullseye. Boy, those cold bores are way out there, aren't they? Yeah. He's in the bullseye. Mine just came into the bullseye. He's got 2 in the bullseye. I've got 2 in the bullseye. He's out. Boy, that slung that one right. I think I'm out. Me too. All right, guys, so he basically has one ragged hole, as you see, with his first cold bore shot being a little low and left. Mine is kind of dispersed all over the place. Not a bad group. It did chew out the center pretty well, but we did have some errant flyers, which could be because of the suppressor. I don't know. I'm going to shoot it with the suppressor, so I'm going to leave it on. But at least you guys can kind of know what to expect or see with this ammunition anyway. But for right now, could I be competitive with that? Yeah, I could be competitive with that, and I think I could still hit the distance targets, but I've never shot this past 50 yards. So what I need to do is get my Kestrel or get the Strelok Pro, put the ballistic data in there, and start getting my holds for that. The other thing that I'm going to be severely disadvantaged on is the fact that I don't have a chassis system. I only have a bipod that is not easy or quick to take on and remove, take off and remove, and I don't have an Arca Swiss. It's not the end of the world, but for this next weekend's match, it's called the Positional Punisher, so a lot of positional stages. I think an Arca Swiss will be a huge benefit. Maybe I'll have a chassis in by then. By the way, this is the factory trigger. I have not adjusted it. I haven't touched it. For the match, I might drop a trigger tech in here, but otherwise, not bad. Right now, it seems like it's shooting on par with some of the CZs that you get right out of the box. All right, so just for you guys that might ask, and because I'm here, I might as well do it. I'm going to use the next target over, target 2. It's the top right target. What I've done is I've removed the Thunder Beast suppressor. I do not have the thread protector on here, and I'm sure my impact will change as far as the shift because we're changing the harmonics. We're removing weight off of the barrel. What I want to do is shoot for groups. Let's see if the group's any tighter than when I shot it with the suppressor. And remember, that is a Thunder Beast Takedown 22, which is a great, great suppressor. One of the best on the market, in my opinion. So here we go. 10 shots at target 2, which is the top right target. As far as feeding, the magazines have been feeding great. I'm not having any type of hard feeding or hard extraction. So here we go. No suppressor. Remember, I'm not going to change my point of aim. Just going to hold center, but it will shift, I'm sure. Target 2. Okay, so it's way high in the black box. That's okay, I'm going to keep aiming center. Two holes touching. I think I might shoot with the suppressor off.
I would say so.
Okay, guys, so for me, if I want to do well at this match, and like I said, for the entire season, since like, what was it, October, November? When did we start doing this? Since October, my worst finish has been 6th place in any match. Shooting the Voodoo. Shooting the Voodoo V22. So this will be the first time shooting Bergara. Like I said, I wanted to see, and at this point, it doesn't matter. I'm just going to go and have fun anyway. But there's some results right there. This was a this can is good to go. It's conditioned. It's got about 100 rounds on it since the last cleaning, so it's not excessively dirty. But every once in a while, you're going to be able to hear fragments in here, and of course, that's going to change it. So I think what I'm going to do is go ahead and zero this. I don't have the thread protector on here, but either way, I'm going to have to change my zero again. I'm just going to shoot it without the suppressor. I don't know. Should I just because?
I don't know. It shoots better without the suppressor. That's for sure.
It definitely shoots better without it. We do have some solid wind today. Well, what I've done is I've just put the Lapua Center X just bone stock. I don't care about the velocity out of the barrel. I don't need a chronograph or anything else, but I've got a good 50-yard zero now that I've tightened the suppressor up to the torque. I'm going to make a little mark on it so that it doesn't move. What I want to do now, and remember, always take your yardages from your turrets because that's where you're going to be making your adjustments from for your most precise engagements. So I'm going to hit the target. It's 135 yards to this next target. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go 135, and I want to see if that's pretty close. So I just go to the Kestrel. And that is a dead center impact. So I know 3.2 is right, okay? A lot of times I'll true my muzzle velocity instead of doing that because I'm only at 100 yards. But let's see what 200 is. 203. Now that I've got my zero height right, at 203 yards, it says my hold should be, boom, 6.7. That sounds much better. So 6.7. All right, here we go. 203 yards, 6.7, target on the left. Okay, elevation's perfect, but it was a little bit right, quite a bit right, wasn't it?
Right edge, it looks like 3 o'clock. 6 o'clock.
A little bit of vertical stringing. Same hole. So I am low on that. So I need to come up about half of a mil. So what I'm going to do again is at 203 yards, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to gun, and I'm going to calibrate the DSF. 203 yards. It should be 7.2.
I'm 6'9". So yeah, it's close. A lot closer.
Let's confirm this. 7.2. So I adjusted the DSF. So now I'm going to go to 300. Let's go ahead and see what 300 gives us. So I have the target. You always want to confirm this with the same laser rangefinders. I've got 301. 301. So at 301, I'm at 13.6 mils, 13.6. So there's 13.6. Go ahead and load some more ammunition up. So we are at 13, I'm gonna go 13.8 at 300. And I'm gonna hold a little over 1 mil. Here we go on the man steel up high. Now I'm gonna go for the little one again. So it's just below the bolt. So right now the numbers are pretty much spot on. So guys, this is a much smaller target than we normally shoot at 300 yards. That is about a 5-inch by 5-inch steel. You typically don't see them that small. So I'm thinking 13.8 is probably going to be my number. For this one anyway.
Center chest.
Okay. So 13.8 is the number. So what I want to do is adjust this. So I'm going to go to gun, calibrate DSF, 301 yards. Instead of 13.6, I'm going to put 13.8. All right, guys. So now I'm going to go, I think this is 400. Yep, 401. This thing's calling for a whopping 21.5 mils. 21.5. That's a lot. Now this actually called for 21.5, so let's go for 20.6. Okay, so elevation's perfect. So what I'm going to do now is I will go for the steel. Guys, it's always a good idea to shoot at the dirt that's at the same distance as the steel when you're trying to get these extreme distances on steel, because it's going to be so hard. It's going to look low when it just went over it or under it. I heard that. All right, here we go. 400 yards, holding 1.5 mils.
Ding.
Impact. It's that easy. So guys, I'm going to go 20.6. So I'm going to go to gun. I'm going to calibrate DSF and 20.6. All right, so what we want to do is test this Bergara B-14 out on some positional stages. I have Matt here. He's got his Voodoo with his XLR Industries chassis. It's all weighted up. That thing's like 22 pounds or something, runs a Night Force. And what we're going to do is we're going to work the barricades here. We have a KYL at 35 yards. You get 1 shot each, and then what you'll do is you'll go down a rung, and then 2 shots on one target at 101 yards. Then you'll go down another rung, and there's 2 steels, 1 shot each at 106 yards. So what we'll do is we'll run it, see how this thing feels. I can tell you it feels very, very light in the hand. I know that first target's close. I'm gonna at least get my parallax somewhat close. And when we're ready, Matt, go ahead and say go.
Engage.
So we are at 35 yards. 50 yard zero, just hold about 6 o'clock.
Impact. Impact. Impact.
Now we're going to go to 101. So I go ahead and dial my dope in to 1.8.
There is a branch that likes to swing in the way.
And of course I got to adjust my parallax way out now. We get 2 shots at this one.
Impact. Impact.
This should be about 2 mils. It's actually a pretty difficult target. Big one first.
Impact. Impact.
All right, so clean score, but I will tell you guys, I'm not gonna lie, not having that extra weight, especially on this little bitty bag, does make a difference. A lot more wobbly than what I'm used to. Let's go ahead and get Matt on his.
Hey, you know what? Let me try it with the Bergara.
Okay, there you go. So Matt's never shot this rifle, and we'll have him on it. We'll go ahead and let him shoot the exact same course of fire and see what he thinks. We all know Matt is an unbelievable shooter. Does really, really well. All right, shooter ready?
Yes.
Stand by. Begin. So the first one is this little tiny KYL right there, guys. I think it starts at a 1/2 inch. Impact.
Ooh, off left.
Off left, just a hair.
Off right.
All right, down 2.
You say 108?
1.8 at 101. So what he's gonna do, guys, he's gonna drop down a position. And remember, he's never pulled the trigger on this thing in his life. And 101 is way up there to the left of the paper target. You guys will see it there. Impact. And now way over here on the left side, he's going to drop down, but over here on the left side there is 2 really tiny steels at 106. They're in the little trough there. You guys can actually make it out just slightly right there.
Double hanger one?
Yep, it's a double hanger. Go for the larger one first. I think it's about a 2 inch. Impact, and then a 1 inch above it. Oh, stop. All right, so Matt, since it's the first time you've shot the Bergara and it's a factory trigger, what do you think about it, especially with the weight of the chassis and all?
Weight on the chassis for me is way more unstable compared to what I have been running. I've noticed myself, I'm floating left to right a little bit. I can't get settled in. Trigger's a little different. I went to look for that the 2-stage part.
And there wasn't one.
It wasn't one, but no, I thought it'd be a good thing just to let me run it and go from the Voodoo to this and try it out. Bolt's super smooth. It's a nice gun. Just take me a little time, but
Good
definitely
deal.
a little more unstable. The weight for me helps me stable out. So
I think that's for most people.
yeah.
All right, guys, so we've been shooting these Bergara, the B-14, for a couple of hours here. Went through a couple hundred rounds of Center X. And I do believe it will shoot up with the V22 Voodoo. Was able to make hits all the way out to 500 yards with regularity. 3, 4, and 500 yards was pretty easy to do. So I'm pretty impressed with it. I am going to shoot it in this weekend's match. I'm interested to see how I do shooting this. shooting it in something that, like I said, I might be able to replace the stock. As far as things I could gig it on, it is very, very well made. There's one thing that kind of bothered me, and I don't know if you guys can see this. This roll pin wasn't pushed in all the way. This is actually a very, very sharp spot. And somebody says, why don't you just drive it in? Well, the problem is on the other side, it's already flush on this side. So paying attention to detail like that, those are the things that matter, because that is a snag point that will actually cut you. It does have a plastic or a polymer trigger guard in the lower, but I've had 0 feed issues with it. Like I said, over 250 rounds, actually, yep, 250 rounds of Center X, not had a single malfunction with it. Everything is fed very smoothly. So I'm going to go ahead and give it a seal of approval. I'm going to shoot it this weekend, and we will get some good video on it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed that. And you can be competitive with the Bergara B-14r. Guys, like, share, and subscribe. We'll talk to you soon. Have a good one.